Okay, Last Honest Man podcast, episode 7, the Brian Robertson video. Total accuracy, I believe it was at the time. So I've always been a massive Thin Lizzy fan, saw the band when I was like 12 or 13, Hammersmith Odeon, Bad Reputation tour, I believe. And absolutely fantastic, loved it. And I've always been, my favourite lineup is, Brian Robertson, Scott Gorham, Phil Lynott, obviously, and Brian Downey. That's always been my favourite lineup. And I was always a big fan of Brian Robertson, Scott Gorham as well, the whole band. And obviously I've, taught some Brian Robertson solos and what have you. So just establishing, big fan. Anyway, he'd been out of the band for some years, but there was a guy that I knew who used to go to the same school as me, but he was younger. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. Excuse me. But he found himself in a really successful pop band in the UK. The story goes that somebody came up to him in Hollywoods, which is a club in Romford, my hometown, and said, "Hey man, you've got a great look, and I've got this band," and he ended up in the band. And he was a great looking guy. And I think, we used to hang out a little bit at Monkey Business, the local music shop, but I'm pretty sure we went to the same school as well. So this was like reconnecting a few years later. So I'd see him every now and again. There was a little bit of a scene back then with different things and jam nights and what have you. Monkey Biz had a jam night. So I'd see him about now and again. Anyway, we used to all hang out at a place called the Lower Wapping Conker Company, which was a studio literally opposite Monkey Business, run by a guy called Pete Dias and Jerry Chapman, and I think Pete's brother was in there somewhere. Anyway, so I think I used to bump into this guy every now and again, and I sort of found out he got into this band, and great, well done, everything. So I don't remember exactly how this happened, but he either called me or I bumped into him somewhere, and he said, "Oh my God, Stuart, you'll never guess who's living at my house." And of course, I had no idea. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know. I don't even know whether I guessed or not." And he said, "Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy." I was like, "Oh my God, like what? How did that even happen?" And like I said, I don't remember the exact story, but he bumped into him somewhere. Robbo was looking for somewhere to stay, to live or whatever. And this buddy of mine said, "Hey, come stay with me." So that's what happened. So I was like, "It's brilliant, what you doing?" "Oh, we're doing some music, whatever." So I think I actually went to meet them at a pub in Brentwood somewhere, which was right by my buddy's house. So I went there, sort of met them, really good fun, had a few drinks, went back to the house after, and got on pretty good. And so I ended up kind of suggesting to the people that I was working with, "Hey, we should try and do a video with Brian Robertson. It'd be absolute genius, it'd be brilliant." So I just love the guy. It wasn't even really about the video. I didn't know if he could teach or not. I just wanted to do it with him. So anyway, I think one of the other guys there kind of called him, made the arrangements or whatever. So he'd agreed to do it. Anyway, we didn't have any video equipment at the time, and it might have even been our first one. I don't know. But anyway, one of my tennis buddies, believe it or not, is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, and I go to his house every week to play tennis, and we're kind of friends and stuff. So I told him, I said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity to do this video with Brian Robertson, and obviously, pretty sure, if I remember rightly, he's a fan as well, and, or certainly respect there." And I said, "But we haven't got any video equipment." So Steve, being the great guy that he is, super loyal, a good guy, he said, "Look, I'll lend you, my personal video equipment." And we're not talking about we're talking like the top of the line stuff for the time, And his old brother-in-law, Steve Lazarus, who was living on the property at the time. He's got I don't know if he's still got it, but it's a huge property in the UK. And so, anyway, Steve was hired to be the camera guy. And I think he came along with his girlfriend. I think they're married now, but that was his girlfriend at the time. So it was all arranged. It was all set. I was so excited. We had top of the line video gear, you know, top of the line cameraman, Robbo, everything. So great, poised for a really exciting day. Anyway, gets to the night. Excuse me. It's the night before the day of the video shoot. So the night before, day before, whatever it was. So I get a phone call. I can't really do the accent, but he said, man, I've been up for 3 days and I don't think I can do this, you know. I said, Robbo, come on man, I've got all the video equipment. Steve's been kind enough to loan it to us. I've got the cameraman for the day. Please, you've got to do it. He said, oh, well, okay, I'll see what I can do. Or whatever it was, he said. So the next day he shows up and we go into the office and we're sitting there and he says, well, I haven't really got anything prepared. And I'll never forget it. He pulled out this little dagger, like I want to say about this big, and he kind of screwed the butt off it and took out what I can only assume was some speed and put it in some tissue. They call it bombing. I didn't even know anything about that at the time. And he kind of mushed this tissue and then put it in his mouth, as it were. So it didn't seem to make that much difference. I don't know whether it sort of brought him back to zero or whatever. So anyway, he said, I don't really have anything prepared, you know. So I said, look, I'll tell you what, I know you're playing pretty well. Okay, so why don't I be in the video with you and I can ask you a bunch of questions and maybe even play some rhythm or whatever, and we can do it like that. So he said, oh, okay. So anyway, so I went home. I didn't live far, only around the corner. So I went home, got some different clothes because I didn't even have appropriate clothes. Just got black t-shirt, I think it was, a black polo neck type thing, not polo neck, a polo shirt type thing, and some black jeans, I think it was. I remember I had some drink out, some vodka or whatever it was. I grabbed whatever alcohol I had and took it back to the studio. So we set up and we started filming, and you know, I started asking questions about different things, and he's playing great, you know, he's still got it, kind of thing. So it's really, really a lot of fun, and you know, he's getting more drunk as the day was going on, and I was getting more drunk as the day was going on. Anyway, it come to the point where one of the things that we'd agreed to do was the solo from Don't Believe a Word. Now, by this point, you know, I forgot I was dealing with a rock star, and we were getting quite matey because I played a couple of blues rhythm things. He was like, oh, that was nice. I thought, okay, that's great, we're getting on good. So he plays a solo to Don't Believe a Word, not exactly the same, but close enough, right? But it's playing great. So he says to me, you know, I think after maybe 1 or 2 takes, he said, oh, you know, how was that? And I actually thought he had a better one in him, so, you know, I got a little bit more confidence now from the mateyness of the situation, plus the alcohol. And I sort of said, oh, you know what, I think you might have a better one in you. And I'll never forget, he sort of looked up, I can't even do the look, he looked up with this look, and I said, you know what, actually, that was pretty good, let's just go with that. And that is what we did. So we carried on. Now, bearing in mind, we'd started the day pretty late, because by the time we got there, it was like sometime in the afternoon. So by the time we'd figured out that I was going to be in the video, by the time I'd got my alcohol and my clothes, got back, time we got set up, it was cracking on. So we're like sort of halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the video, and we've still got some stuff to go. So one of the library guys comes in and says, right, I'm going to get some curry so we can have a break and have some food. You know, what does everybody want? So everyone's like, oh, I'll have a madras, I'll have this, you know, whatever it was. So Robbo's like, I'll have a fowl. Now, if you don't know what a fowl is, I'm sure you do. It's like one of the hottest curries you can get. Even Indian people don't eat it, right? I said, come on, Robbo, look, we all know you're hard as nails. Like, why don't you just have something normal? He goes, no, I have them all the time, you know. And my buddy said, no, he has them all the time. All right, fine, whatever. So we carried on working. The little other guy went and got all the food, all the curry and that. So whenever it was, he got back, and then they got a table out by the bar that we used to have in the old building. And they laid out all the food, and I had my food, and Steve Laz had his food, and his girlfriend, everyone was there. And Robbo had his fowl. So of course we're all like looking at him, wanting him to kind of eat this fowl to see if he was really that tough, you know. So we're sort of eating away. We're like, hey, come on, Robbo, like, are you going to eat your fowl? I'm going to eat it. I'll have it there. I'll have it there. So sorry about the accent. But anyway, so. He didn't eat any of it. He sort of left it there, but to allegedly have later. So we go back. We carry on working. We're doing I think the harmonies at the end of oh my God, I can't. Still in Love with You, I think it was. So we're doing the harmonies. It's going really well. I'm just having an absolute ball of a time. It's absolutely brilliant. So. We do these harmonies, I'm drunk, but I managed to get through it. And he was he can't be killed by a conventional weapon, so he got through it, which was great. So we kind of finished up the video there and then. So that's a wrap. I think we got everything that we need, and I think we got some photographs or whatever it was to go on the cover. So it's like great. So like no Ubers back then. So we used to use a local cab firm called Kilo Cars. I don't know if it's still there. So anyway, somebody, could me or one of the little other guys, somebody called him a cab, right? Called a taxi for him. And so back then it was the old Music Village building, and we were upstairs. Digital Village as it's known now. We were upstairs. So back then obviously no smartphones. You just got to wait for the cab to turn up. So I kind of designated myself the job of like waiting outside for the taxi, to make sure that we got him in it and everything. So he was upstairs, so like, don't worry, I'll let you know when the taxi gets here. So anyway, I'm waiting downstairs for the taxi, and unbeknownst to me, because he's obviously pretty drunk by this point, he's decided to eat his fowl, right? And the only thing I remember was, it was almost like magic. As the taxi kind of pulled in, and I kind of signalled to the taxi, hey, like, just a second. I looked up the iron stairs that we had back then, and Robbo opened the door. He's got the plate of curry in his hands, and he's got tears streaming down his face, and all I remember is he said, have you got a bin? And I remember, I yeah, no problem. I took the plate off him and, disposed of it, as it were. And I think him and my buddy got in the taxi and off they went. So that was really funny. And so we did the video, and it kind of came out. And it was good, it was good. And just as I hope I'm not sort of throwing him under the bus here, but what happened at the time was I thought to myself, I think I can get this guy a record deal, But I didn't feel at the time, and again, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I didn't feel at the time he was capable of doing the whole thing, but I definitely felt he was capable of doing a great job with the guitars, right? So I came up with this idea of, what did I call it? To do something kind of based on I Still Got the Blues, right? And I decided, I was going to go through with this idea of, what was it? Not Still Got the Blues. Still in Love with the Blues. Still in Love with the Blues, which I thought fell in the Still in Love with You and the blues. And then what I thought I'd do was I would write the songs. Not that he couldn't do it, but I just felt at the time, I didn't think that would work. And, so I basically went to a friend of mine, Ron Fry, who was friends with the guys from Eagle Rock. And I said, hey, we had Robbo in, did a really good job on the video. And, Ron knew a little bit about Robbo and his little bit of reputation about how he was. So I said, look, I think I can write all these songs, so we could do some, maybe, he could maybe do some co-writes, or I'll give him some publishing, and, I'll do some of the singing, or I'll get someone to do it, or maybe we'll get some guests, and, he can play the guitar parts, right? If he I'll do the rhythm if he wants, but it's completely up to him. So Ron went to Eagle Rock, and they agreed, and they were prepared to give us a £10,000 budget to make this record, which I was like super, super excited about. I thought, wow, I thought maybe I was helping, get Robbo back in a little bit better shape and some money in his pocket and blah, 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 blah. So I went to him with the idea, and I told him who was involved, and unfortunately he approached them directly, kind of cutting me out, and which is fine to do, because it's it's his playing and everything, and it's his name and his reputation. But they didn't feel that they wanted to put that kind of money into that without me, because I was known through Total Accuracy to be very reliable, always delivering everything, always doing a good job with everything, with the audio, working with Steve Finch at the time. We had our own studio, a lot of good musicians around us that could make this happen. But I think most of all, especially for Ron and the Eagle Rock guys, they felt that if I said I would deliver, I would deliver. And so unfortunately they weren't prepared to do the deal with him kind of directly. So it ended up not happening, which was a little bit of a shame. And he kind of got a little bit upset when I sort of explained to him why, because I think he thought I sort of done him over somehow, but I hadn't, at all. That I just said, well, okay, fine, if you want to do it with him directly, but they didn't. And that was really, really how it was. And then he ended up leaving my buddy's house, and he went to work in a music shop. And I went to see him, I think only once, it was. Once or maybe twice, but I think once. And he was back with the mother of his child, and I can't remember why, but I went to their flat and had a chat with him for a while and stuff like that. And his son was playing guitar and what have you. And I think that was sort of the last time I saw him. But it was an absolutely brilliant experience, and something I'm really excited to be about. If I can find any of it online, I'll post it. But that would only be, because it was on VHS cassette, that would only be because someone had taken the cassette, digitised it, and then put it on YouTube or whatever. So, there you have it. I don't think there's any more to add to that story, but it was a great day, and it was a fantastic experience. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next episode.